Welcome to the deep dive. We plunge right into those moments that really matter and pull out exactly what you need to know. Today, picture this. A CNN debate studio. It's 2025. The air is thick. The lights are blazing. Real tension. And you've got two of America's most talked about political figures on stage. They don't know it yet, but they're heading for a clash that's going to shake everything up. On one side, Karoline Leavitt. She's 27, super sharp, really ambitious. You probably remember her. Youngest White House press secretary for Trump. Known for being fierce, loyal. Now she's running for Congress. And across from her, Kash Patel, 45, son of Indian immigrants. He's got this long career in intelligence, even got nominated for FBI director. Very calm, very precise kind of guy. The debate starts, the mood's already intense, and then boom, Leavitt looks straight at Patel. And she says it. Maybe it's time you stop pretending to understand American values and went back to India where you belong. You can imagine, gasps in the audience. Anderson Cooper, stunned. Social media just lights up. People are calling it the most racist comment ever.
Interview.
But what Patel did next, his response. Nobody saw it coming. It didn't just end Leavite's career right there. It revealed something deep, something about America that honestly left people speechless.
Yeah, and this wasn't, just another political spat or some viral clip, although it definitely went viral. This is one of those moments where America's really tough questions about who belongs, about identity, they just collided head on with our highest ideals. Right there, live TV. So our mission today, we're going to unpack this whole incredible story. We'll get to know these two figures, Leavite and Patel, and we'll explore why this specific debate hit such a nerve, why it speaks so much to America's future. We're talking immigration, identity, patriotism, all of it. This is where, America's ugly truths kind of met its best aspirations. And by the end of this deep dive, you'll have a really solid grasp on this pivotal moment and maybe a clearer sense of what being American truly means today. It's your shortcut to really understanding what went down. Okay, so let's dig in. Who were these two people, really? Let's start with Karoline Leavitt. 27, like you said, an incredibly fast rise. What drove her? What did she represent? Well, Karoline Leavitt's story, it's all about that rapid climb, and it's tied to a very particular narrative. She's from New Hampshire, working-class Catholic background, very conservative roots. She made her mark fast in Trump's White House, became press secretary at just 24, youngest ever. Her style, aggressive, fiercely loyal, had that sharp tongue people talked about. Now, her critics, they called her Trump's attack dog, pointed to some really inflammatory statements. But her supporters, they saw her as like a breath of fresh air, someone who wasn't afraid to push back against the establishment, Her campaign for Congress was all about America First policies, traditional values. She was positioning herself as the future of the conservative movement. She definitely tapped into this feeling some people had, this sense that America was, I guess, losing its traditional identity.
Right, a very defined political brand there. Okay, now contrast that with Kash Patel. His background seems almost designed to challenge her whole premise, doesn't it? Even before the debate.
Absolutely. That's what's so striking. Despite Leavitt's attack later, Patel's life story is, it's kind of the quintessentially American story in its own right. Born in New York, this is back in the 70s, his parents, immigrants from India, they arrived with, like the story goes, nothing but dreams and a work ethic. Seriously, his dad worked multiple jobs, taxi driver, security guard, janitor.
Wow.
Yeah. His mom cleaned offices, just doing whatever it took to give their kids a shot. At Patel, he worked hard, did well in school, got a law degree, ended up at the Department of Justice, prosecuting terrorists, drug cartels, serious stuff. Then he became a trusted advisor in the Trump administration, national security. Known for being smart, loyal, someone who could, get things done. He was involved in counterterrorism, even that whole thing Trump called the deep state conspiracy, the idea of government insiders working against the president. His service record was seen as impeccable. He'd literally put his life on the line for America. Undercover work, threats from terrorists.
So very different stories. One rising through political communication, the other through national service and law enforcement. What made this debate the moment where it all boiled over? Was it just them or something bigger?
That's really the core question, isn't it? This debate didn't just happen out of nowhere. It landed right in the middle of a really crucial moment for the U.S. The country was, deeply split on immigration, identity, on this fundamental question. What does it mean to be truly American? Leavitt, with her rhetoric, she was voicing a specific conservative view, that feeling that America was losing its identity. She spoke for millions who felt things were changing too fast, values were eroding, and maybe only people with, deep American roots could really get it.
Okay.
Patel, though, he was like the embodiment of the American dream in action. proof that immigrants could be incredibly dedicated patriots.
Yeah.
His life suggested that loving your country, it's about service, sacrifice, not just about how long your family's been here. So yeah, the debate was supposed to be about national security policy. Both had expertise there, but it pretty quickly became obvious this was going to be about something much deeper. It was about the soul of America itself.
So how did it actually start to go off the rails? You mentioned it started normally enough.
Yeah, the first 20 minutes or so, pretty standard. Anderson Cooper asked about border security, national defense, typical debate topics. And they were like seasoned professionals, just trading policy points. Leavitt argued for strict immigration controls, blamed the Biden admin for weak borders. She said something like, "We need leaders who understand America must come first. Our citizens deserve a government working for them, not for people who have no right to be here." Standard stuff for her platform.
And Patel's response?
He was very measured, drew on his law enforcement background, said something like, "I spent my career actually catching the bad guys. I know the difference between real threats and political talking points." Just trying to stick to substance.
So where did it pivot? When did the personal attacks begin?
It was when Cooper brought up Trump's immigration policies. That was the trigger. Leavitt didn't just talk policy. She went straight for the attack, suggested some officials in the Trump admin, implicitly Patel, hadn't been tough enough. And then she dropped this line, looking right at him. "We need people in government who truly understand American values. People whose loyalty to this country can never be questioned."
Okay. So that wasn't subtle. That was the first real jab about loyalty.
Exactly. It wasn't about policy anymore. It was about setting up this idea of who gets to define American values and who doesn't. Patel stayed cool, though. Just said, "I think my record speaks for itself. I've risked my life for this country more than once. If that's not loyalty, I don't know what is."
But Leavitt wasn't letting go, was she? Sounds like she came in with a plan.
Oh, definitely. She doubled down. Said, "It's easy to claim loyalty, but real Americans don't need to prove their patriotism. It's in their blood."
Real Americans. Wow. That phrase just hanging there.
Like a warning shot, yeah. You could see Cooper getting uncomfortable. Producers at CNN are probably getting worried. And social media, it just took off. Hashtag Real Americans started trending, but so did hashtag Immigrant Pride. People were reacting instantly on both sides.
Patel tried to counter logically right, asking if she meant ancestry determined citizenship.
He did. Very calmly, he asked, "Ms. Leavitt, I hope you're not suggesting that American citizenship is determined by ancestry rather than values and service?"
Her reply.
Yeah, I'm really back. "I am suggesting that some people understand America instinctively while others have to learn it from books."
Ouch. That's direct. Basically saying his understanding isn't authentic because of his background.
Precisely. You could hear murmurs in the studio audience then.
Yeah.
People felt it getting really personal. She'd, tasted blood. She decided to push harder, questioning his basic right to even speak for America.
And that's when she said,
"Mr. Patel talks a good game about American values, but when push comes to shove, where do his loyalties really lie? When he looks in the mirror, does he see an American or does he see something else?"
Just silence after that, I imagine. Cooper must have been floored.
Total silence. Cooper looked stunned. You could feel the supporters of Patel just sinking, hearing those, subtle and the not so subtle digs that immigrants can never be truly real Americans.
The amazing part, though, is Patel's reaction. You said he stayed calm, almost eerily calm.
Yeah, it was remarkable. He just held her gaze, steady, calm, almost unnervingly so. He gave her one more warning, very quiet. "Mrs. Leavitt, I think you should be very careful about the road you're going down."
But she didn't listen.
Nope. Plowed right ahead. "Mr. Patel, you served in government, and I respect that. But there's a difference between serving America and truly understanding America. Some of us were born with that understanding. Others will always be trying to prove they belong."
That's it, the direct insult. Your service doesn't matter because your parents weren't born here.
Exactly. No more ambiguity. He's an outsider, perpetually proving himself.
Yeah.
In her view.
And Patel just accepted it, almost invited more.
He did. He said calmly, "I see. So, you believe that American identity is determined by ancestry rather than actions. That's an interesting position for someone who claims to support constitutional values." Just laying the track.
And Leavitt walked right in.
Her voice started rising. "I believe that America should be led by Americans who don't need to prove their loyalty because it's never been in question." The audience was getting restless. CNN execs were probably debating cutting to commercial.
And then Patel smiled. That's when you knew something was coming.
Exactly.
Wow.
A calm, confident smile, like he knew something nobody else did. And he said, "Miss Leavitt, Said, you want to talk about who really belongs in America? Let me tell you a story. It's about my family, and it's about yours.
Oh, wow.
And by the time I'm done, I think everyone watching will understand exactly who deserves to question whose loyalty to this country.
Chills. You can see her confidence just evaporate.
Right. Absolutely. He sounded like he'd been waiting for this exact moment his whole life. He let her build her entire case, and now he was going to take it apart piece by piece. He leaned forward. His voice changed, took on that authority, the guy who's briefed presidents, hunted terrorists. He repeated her words back to her. You just told me to go back to India? You suggested that I'm not a real American. You questioned my loyalty to this country? Just setting the stage.
Okay.
Then he revealed his prep work. When you work in intelligence, he said, you learn to verify everything. So when I heard I would be debating Caroline Leavitt tonight, I did what any good investigator would do. I checked the facts about both of our families. And he pulls out a folder, emphasizes this is all public information, but adds, most Americans don't know the real story of the Leavitt family history.
The tension must have been insane. CNN producers probably couldn't believe their luck with the ratings, but also sensing this was history, and he started with his own family.
He did. He laid the foundation. His parents came here in 1970, nothing but hope and determination. Father working 3 jobs, taxi driver, security guard, janitor, mother cleaning offices, caring for kids. He stressed their belief in the American dream, hard work, building a better life, never took welfare, never asked for special treatment, never felt America owed them anything. Pure contribution.
Right. Setting up the contrast.
Exactly. Then his own service.
Oh.
Prosecutor. Undercover work against drug dealers, terrorists, risked my life in operations that I still can't talk about. He said, I've been shot at by terrorists. I've been threatened by drug cartels, all to protect American lives. And the powerful conclusion to that part. So when Mrs. Leavitt questions my loyalty, she's not just insulting me. She's insulting every immigrant family that has ever sacrificed for this country. She's insulting every American whose parents came here seeking a better life. He connected his story to millions of others.
That's incredibly powerful. But then the pivot, the really interesting part isn't my family's story. It's hers. I bet you could hear a pin drop.
Reports say Leavite's face just went white. Patel pulls out documents, says she loves to talk about being a real American whose family has deep roots. First bombshell. According to public records, the Leavite family immigrated to America in 1892. That's right. Caroline Leavitt is a third-generation immigrant, just like millions of other Americans. You hear murmurs in the crowd.
Okay, so not exactly Mayflower descendants?
Not quite. Then, bombshell 2. The Leavite family came here from Canada.
Slight chuckle, Canada. Oh, the irony. There must have been laughter.
Oh, yeah. Laughter, groans. The irony was just thick. But he wasn't done. Bombshell 3. Her great-grandfather, Thomas Leavitt, he was refused entry to the United States twice before finally getting in. Why? Concerns he couldn't support himself? No money, no job prospects, no guarantees.
Unbelievable.
Patel drives it home. In other words, Thomas Leavitt was exactly the kind of immigrant that his great-granddaughter now wants to keep out of America. The place erupted.
Okay,
Yeah.
but wait, there was one more twist, right? The ultimate irony.
The ultimate irony. Thomas Leavitt's immigration petition, Patel reveals, was actually sponsored by an Indian-American businessman who had made his fortune in the textile industry.
No way. Sponsored by an Indian American.
Yes. Patel looks right at Leavitt. So when you tell me to go back to India, you're literally telling the descendant of the people who helped your family come to America to leave the country that we both call home.
That's it. Knockout punch delivered. The studio must have gone wild.
It was the knockout. Patel stood up then, really commanding the stage, and he delivered this powerful definition of what being American really means. Real Americans don't judge people by the color of their skin or the country their grandparents came from. Real Americans judge people by their character, their actions, and their service to others. He went on, real Americans don't tell other Americans to go back where they came from, especially when their own families came from somewhere else too.
Yeah.
Pointing right at her, real Americans don't build their careers on dividing people and spreading hate. Real Americans build their careers on bringing people together and serving their country, the audience, on their feet, cheering, applauding.
Yeah.
Just completely captivated.
He didn't just dismantle her argument. He basically rewrote the definition of patriotism for everyone watching. What was the final blow? The direct challenge.
It was devastating. He laid out the contrast starkly.
My family came to America with nothing and gave everything to this country. Pause. Your family came to America with nothing and apparently taught their descendants to look down on other people who did the same thing.
Then, I've spent my entire adult life serving America. You've spent your career serving Donald Trump and your own political ambitions. And his final words, almost a whisper, but everyone heard it. So before you ever again question anyone's loyalty to America, you might want to look in the mirror and ask yourself what you've actually done to make this country better.
And then he just sat down, asked about border security.
Calmly sat down. Turned to Anderson Cooper, asked about border policy like nothing had happened. The studio just erupted. Leave it. Visibly crushed. Couldn't even speak.
That is incredible. A total mic drop. And then he looked straight at the camera, right? Gave that final statement.
Yeah, directly to the camera, to the nation, really.
Yeah.
He said, America is great because we welcome people who want to work hard and contribute. Regardless of where they came from, that's what makes us different. And anyone who tries to divide us based on our origins doesn't understand what America is really about. He didn't just win a debate. He gave a master class in American identity.
Okay. So the debate ends. The dust starts to settle. Maybe settle isn't the right word. What was the immediate aftermath? What does this mean for you, the listener, trying to understand this moment?
Well, settle is definitely not the word. It exploded. Social media just went into overdrive. Hashtag Cash Destroys Caroline, #1 trending worldwide. That video clip, everywhere. And the reactions were fascinating, came from all over the political map. You had conservatives like Ben Shapiro tweeting something like, holy, never seen a more perfect political takedown. Liberals like Van Jones calling it pure American greatness. Truth transcending politics for a moment.
Right.
Memes everywhere, of course. Patel looking calm, Levite panic, Statue of Liberty saying immigrant schooling racist since 1886.
Huff. Okay.
But also thousands of people started sharing their own family immigration stories online. My family came from Ireland. My family came from Mexico. My family came from Vietnam. It tapped into something really deep.
And within the Republican Party, that must have caused some waves, given Levite's positioning.
Huge waves. Senator Ted Cruz, whose own father was an immigrant, tweeted support for Patel, saying character matters more than ancestry, service more than heritage. Governor Ron DeSantis was careful, talking about legal immigrants embracing values. But the biggest shock, Donald Trump. He called Patel a great American and a true patriot, said, some people need to learn the difference between America first and America only. We welcome legal immigrants who love our country.
Trump said that. That's surprising. He basically threw Levi under the bus.
Completely. A stunning reversal, really. It showed even he recognized how badly Levi had misread the room. Or maybe how powerfully Patel had redefined the narrative. Even news outlets were kind of reeling. Fox News' Tucker Carlson called it a masterclass in American values. CNN had record ratings. Anderson Cooper said he'd never seen anything like it in 30 years. International media picked it up too.
So we know Patel won the exchange, but I'm curious about the method. Was there any pushback, even quiet pushback, about him bringing her family history into it? Like, did it set a precedent some were uncomfortable with, even if they agreed with the outcome?
That's a really insightful question. And yes, absolutely. While the overwhelming reaction was praise, you definitely heard whispers, especially among political strategists, asking, okay, where does this lead? Some worried that even though he used public records, this kind of deep dive into family history, even to rebut a direct personal attack, could open doors people might regret later.
Right. A potential slippery slope argument.
Exactly. But I think the dominant feeling was that Levite's attack was so personal, so xenophobic, and so central to her entire political brand that Patel's response, using verifiable public facts about her family's own immigrant story, was not just justified, but proportionate. He wasn't spreading rumors. He was using historical facts to expose hypocrisy. It felt less like mudslinging and more like, well, like a strategic checkmate using the truth. He met her low blow with documented reality.
Okay, that makes sense. And for Caroline Leavitt, what happened to her campaign, her career?
It was over. Done. Within days, major donors bailed. Campaign manager quit. The New Hampshire GOP basically backed away slowly. Then her communications director, press secretary, deputy campaign manager, they all resigned. Several put out statements saying they were immigrants or children of immigrants themselves and couldn't stand by her remarks.
Wow, her own staff.
Yeah. Her attempts to explain it away, like saying she was taken out of context or talking about different levels of Americanness, that just dug the hole deeper. Sounded like she was doubling down. She eventually had to withdraw from the congressional race. Her campaign was just, as they say, untenable.
So Patel emerges as this unlikely hero. What were the bigger, longer-term impacts, not just for him, but for the whole conversation around identity in America?
It was huge. Patel instantly went from being this, respected but not widely known former official to a national conservative hero. Overnight, Speaking requests, book deals, talk of running for higher office, all that started immediately. But more significantly, he did something really rare these days.
Yeah.
He actually united people across party lines, maybe just for a moment, but around this shared idea of American values based on action and contribution.
That is rare.
His response became like required viewing in political science classes. Communications gurus analyzed it, the use of facts, the emotional control, turning the attack back on the attacker. And it forced a conversation, a much more honest one, I think, about immigration and identity that politicians often try to avoid. You saw immigration advocacy groups using his words. But interestingly, some conservative groups also started framing immigration more around contribution and sacrifice, maybe trying to reclaim that narrative. It highlighted just how complex American identity is now. It wasn't just black and white anymore. It forced a more nuanced discussion about belonging.
So a potential turning point in how these issues are discussed, particularly on the right.
Analysts definitely saw it that way. That old us versus them rhetoric. It became much harder to sell after Patel so effectively demonstrated the us includes people like him, and maybe even the them relies on the contributions of immigrants. The Patel question, basically, what makes someone American, started popping up in GOP primaries. Candidates had to have an answer. It's in a really clear message. America's strength in the 21st century comes from welcoming people who work hard, contribute, embrace the values, where their grandparents came from. Less important. And his way of responding, calm, factual, dignified, became a model. Like that viral tweet said, Kash Patel just showed America how to win an argument without losing your soul. Ultimately, it just hammered home this idea. America's superpower isn't just its military or economy. It's this unique ability to make Americans out of people from anywhere. People willing to commit to the ideals and build the future.
So wrapping this up, after digging deep into this really incredible moment, what's the big takeaway for you? What should we hold on to from this story?
I think the clearest lesson is this. In America, it's not about your ancestry. It's not about how long your family tree goes back on this soil. Your worth, your Americanness, it's determined by your actions, your character, your commitment, what you give back to the country you call home. And sometimes it takes the son of immigrants to stand up and remind everyone else what that truly means.
It's a powerful reminder that loyalty to American ideals isn't confined to one background, one story. It really challenges those assumptions about who gets to claim the mantle of patriot. And it leaves us with something to think about, doesn't it? If our national identity is always being shaped, always evolving through the energy and contributions of new Americans, what does that mean for those older, maybe more rigid narratives we sometimes cling to? What part do you play right now in defining what it means to be an American today?